sure if I'm looking at guacamole or,
That's jalapenos, yo.
but underneath of it.
Underneath it all. You know what? I'm just gonna have some confidence. A walk over to walk off.
Here you go. Ah,
Man, and I sat on your hand again
I
2 weeks
know.
in a row.
that old trick.
All right, we do have an open spot here this evening, and we'll get to that momentarily. We apologize for being late on a Tuesday night. I mean, Tuesday night starts for everyone. You know, we can't tell you when to start your Tuesday night, but we're going to start ours now. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangold. This is Thank God It's Tuesday. He's Kevin Ricka.
What's going on, guys? How's it going on Tuesday? Looks like there's a lot of stuff going on the
Yeah, the board's
comment
been active.
section.
I try to get
That's-
involved in it like before
Seems
it
about
starts.
right. Seems about right.
You know what? So we've been doing this for coming up on 8 or 9 years, but we've been doing this for about half that, and it was only about like a year ago when I realized I could comment to people before the show started. Like the chat is opened.
It's amazing.
Right away. The technology. Good evening,
It's
Mr.
amazing
Ken
how
Harris.
quickly you could figure that out. I love it.
AGH, Greg Martin, manner of speaking, EO, Greg Martin, I think I might have already said, Robert Cohen. Appreciate you guys. Love to see you here this evening. J-Dubs. It's always Tuesday. It's always Tuesday somewhere. And it's not. AGH, this is not going to be a pity party. We don't do those things. First of all, that's not how we choose to spend our Tuesdays. Bottom line, baseline, foundational. Secondly, we have come to develop a way of handling times like these because we've known times like these. And in fact, we're experts in times like these. And so we don't have tea tonight. We hope you're doing just fine. My friend, we'll have you back next Tuesday night. Hope you're watching. Please get involved in the board. That's right, EO. The whiskey does help, as we like to say. And I think that's a fair thing to say. I like to say that when I write my articles on Hogs Haven. The whiskey helps. I put into everything. And winning or losing, just enjoying it. No. Okay, so HGH is going down the bad path.
It's fine.
We're going to bring you back.
It's
We're going to bring you back.
We go through this at this time every year. At least we have under the Rivera era. We've done it under the Gruden era. Like, listen,
Everyone take a deep breath.
y'all know damn well we're going one in something.
Yeah, we're going to go one in something. And
I mean, what did we say? 2 years ago, we went 1-2 and proceeded to go 1-5. Last year, we went 1-2, proceeded to go 1-4. Like, let's just shrink it down to keep it at 1-3. Take care of Tennessee. Oh, God, I'm going to punch myself in the face. I need one of these. It's been a disturbing September.
It has, and October hasn't necessarily been our best friend either. But we're not going to go there. It has been a hazy 30 years, a very hazy, 30 years.
That's about spot on, to be fair,
If I know
for haziness.
these board folks the way I think I do, and certainly basement dwelling folks like us, I know that there has been an art that was developed and captured in an age that preceded this one. That age was when the educational institution you attended, for some of you all the way through college, Ken Harris, where there was no digital, replication of any of these records. Right, report cards were mailed. If a teacher had something he wanted to send home, it got mailed.
Or just pinned to you.
Or pinned, hidden in your book bag.
Yeah.
It came in to the house in paper form. That's the way it happened. That's the way that it went. And so I bet that there's a few folks watching tonight and who's hanging out with us that became adept in ways to the early turd polishers. Turning that D into a B, turning that F into hopefully a B and not in a greedy A.
You just don't go right to A, Kevin Walsh. You just can't go straight A's.
Right to A.
You can't go straight A's, computer printout straight A yourself.
Yeah.
Have some couth. How about a 3.2? Sounds about right.
Come on.
Mix in a C+. I mean, for God's sake.
And if you're that person, like getting a C, you're like, yes, because you didn't have to, it wasn't a D or an F that you had to change, and You weren't turning a C into anything that was believable. But the ability to get to the mailbox first, the ability to talk your way through why the schools decided not to give out grades maybe this quarter or this semester or this year for some of you out there. So we need your help tonight. First quarter report cards are in, and they are ugly. It is really ugly. So we're going to the way I thought I would approach it tonight is, and we're not going to do first quarter grades for everything in every nook and cranny. But what I wanted to ask the board and to Kevin is, who got an A? Are there any A's? And I looked through it and I was like, you know what? I think there's a couple A's out there. A couple.
All right.
I think there's teams in this league who are pretty friggin' happy. The report card is on the refrigerator. The pictures of it have been sent around to grandparents and aunts and uncles. And there's a bumper sticker on cars about honor rolls. And that's happening at other places around the league. It's not happening here. But there are some A's. Right away, the board gets it. Tress Way, big A.
He's been a straight A student.
He's
for
a straight
us.
A student.
Yeah, he's teacher's pet. I mean, he's our punter, and he's great at it.
He's a great punter.
I feel such confidence when he comes in. I'm like, typically over the years, you're like, we're punting. You're like, here we go. The field position game. He's about to hit this one nice. He's good.
What?
He's good at what he does. I respect that.
Do you think the Washington Commanders should start playing like that trumpet New York Mets closer music when Tress Way comes onto the field 14 times a game?
If we want to just joke, if we're the biggest clown jokers of all time right now, we
That's what they
bust
should
out
do.
new uniforms and our owner rocks the freaking blue and khaki. We look like the biggest clown show of all time going out there and playing like dog crap. Let's not trumpet this shit just yet. We'll save the trumpet for no, listen, when John Allen says when we win, we'll save the trumpet for when we win. Let's save that trumpet.
We'll save the trumpet, but if there was any player who's deserved a trumpet walk-on music scenario for us, it has been our punter, and that's really sad. Now, lots of credit to Tress Way for being a great punter. And you know what the other part about it? So we love Tress Way, and we know how good he is. Come Pro Bowl time and All-Pro time, like his name isn't anywhere near the top of the list. And
because no one cares.
I know.
Oh, he pinned us in the 20. We were up by 37. Great
I know.
Nice job, kid.
It's like, it's bad enough that I have to watch these games and do first quarter grades, but at least I want to see like our best player get like some league love. And it's like, yep, nope. At least when Trent Williams was here and we sucked, everyone was like, yeah, but he's still the best. Stuff like that. Like, we don't have that. And no one cares about our punter except for us.
No one cares about anyone's punter.
Well, I'm just saying we care about our punter because he's a bright spot. That's all I'm saying.
And that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yes. It's sad. It's really sad. It's part of the problem. It's a symptom of a greater illness. That's not the only A. That's an easy A, but that's not the only A. I want to give Jonathan Allen an A. I think Jonathan Allen...
He deserves an A.
He deserves an A. He's worked hard. He's shown his work. He is getting it done from his spot.
He's a great football player.
He's a great football player.
He showed it. I think he had 4 tackles for a loss. That's getting it done. He gets an A. Daron Payne gets an A for me, too.
I'm giving Daron Payne an A.
Yep. And it's weird that those two guys get an A, and you're like, they did some good things, but you just can't figure it out. There's the guys that got A's last week come out and get a C or a D this week. You got, I guess, shit, I have no idea. I said last year I had no idea. I still have no idea how we just continuously remain average to worse on defense. I don't get it. The lack of confidence I have as a fan watching television when we are on the defensive side of the ball is gigantic. You just know they're about to gash you.
So it's...
But they both get A's, though.
They both get A's. Well, then let's take a segue here because I don't have any other A's on the defense. And actually, the grades for Montez Sweat and for whoever's
Cam Curl was close.
Who?
Cam Curl was close. He got beat once,
close.
and everyone brought it. When you get beat once and they bring your name up,
Yep.
everyone thinks you had a bad game.
I thought
he was
we
solid.
want to be like
Yeah.
starving teachers. We're not giving anyone
We're not
else
giving
A's.
Cam Curl an A. We're not giving more than
I'll
2
give him
A's.
B+.
There you go.
Cam Curl gets the next best grade.
Right.
But The idea that when you're watching the Redskins football team Commanders play, because this is a problem that's gone through all of those team names, is the fact that you feel that way is amazing, because for some of us, there were times when it was the opposite. And I think of it in terms of, for me personally, Detroit is a perfect canary in the coal mine for this whole thing. We never lost to Detroit for decades. We played them, we beat them, we played them in the playoffs, we beat them. It was you woke up in the morning and you were like, oh, time for a win. And that has been not the case for quite some time. And the difference between those two feelings, now when you play Detroit versus the way it was 15 years ago when you played Detroit, that's the way now everything feels. You wake up not just you wake up in the morning and you don't feel it, but at the snap of every play that we're on defense, as soon as the ball goes in the air, you're thinking someone's going to catch that and potentially score.
Yeah. And if it's us, we'll get called for a penalty, and then the next time, someone else will catch it and it'll be for the other team.
Yeah.
It's
a bad feeling.
It's gut-wrenching. It's gut-freaking-wrenching. Football, it's what it is, though.
It is. And we're in it deep enough to feel that way.
If you're not ready to be gut-wrenched, we would have gotten out a long time ago. I sit on that couch every Sunday and lift my shirt up about 8 inches, and I'm ready for whoever wants to punch me as freaking hard as they can in the guts, because that's what that 3 hours feels like.
So I am trying to embrace that dread of because it means it's kind of like it means you still care a little bit. Like I sometimes I worry.
I certainly do.
I worry sometimes that, like, I know a lot of people are checking out, and I get it, and I'm not checking out, but I know people are, and it's been 25 years, everybody, and we're going to talk about that here in a second as well. But the feeling of watching this team is so different and so hurtful for people who are so invested. All I can say is, sometimes you have to take that punch in the face to remember, like, oh, I still feel pain. It's still real. I feel it. I'm involved in it, and I
still feel pain.
Yeah.
This is all.
It's all pain.
It's all pain. still feel anything. God bless it. You know what?
Who's getting an A on offense?
Shit. Listen. I
love
love Gibson, but I'm not giving him an A. He played good. He didn't do anything wrong. But
I think Gibson and Samuel are my closest A's, and which is the saddest thing, Kev, because Terry McLaurin has not been shown enough love to even get hasn't had enough quizzes and tests and homework to get a better grade.
He has played 90% of the snaps. Ken. He's played 90% of the offensive snaps, 273 plays, and he has been targeted 27 times. That means we target Terry McLaurin less than 10 times. Less than 10 times. Every 10th time. It's worse than 10. It's 10 and a percentage point.
Yeah.
That's how often we target our best player for the last few years offensively. I get it, but it's a trickle-down effect, Ken. Our offensive line at this point is decimated to the point we've given up more sacks than anyone. We're banged up as hell. We don't have a rusher in the top 32 in football. We had a stretch there against the Eagles. We got sacked 3 times in a row, which to me, the turkey is the most embarrassing thing in the history of offensive line play, especially at a storied traditional history that we have as the Hogs here offensively. Against Dallas this past week, we completed 2 passes that traveled more than 10 yards down the field. So here's where we're at. Our offensive line stinks. Some people are ready to throw the quarterback out. That's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not. I don't think he's gotten the ability to show.
Biggest problem.
Right. Has he been great? No. But exactly. The quarterback gets the point. Too much credit, too much blame, blah, blah, blah. This offensive line stinks. The pressure going on in the backfield, the ability to get rid of the ball. Curtis Samuel has 37 targets to Terry McLaurin's 27. There's a reason for that. Curtis Samuel's a heck of a player. But also, we can't afford to do anything but dink dunk, get the ball out right away. These little quick screens, check down routes, anything we can do to not have to protect the passer. So what we were told, we're now going to extend the offense. We're going to use every inch of the field. And Carson Wentz's arm is going to be the reason why this offense flourishes. We get this awesome group of receivers. It doesn't freaking matter. We can't protect anything. anything, we stink.
Yep.
We stink. And then as we're trying to get into a rhythm. And since the first 2 drives against Jacksonville, we've been completely out of whack. There's no way to get into a rhythm unless we get improvement along the offensive line. And now that Royer is out for the season, and hey, surprise, Sam Cosmi had surgery. He's also now out. So that scares the shit out of me
Is he out
with
for
a
the
team like
season,
Tennessee.
Cosmi?
No, nothing like that. But I mean, whatever. I mean, listen, guys, say what you want about Carson Wentz over and over and over again. It does not change the fact that this offensive line is the worst in the league. So if you don't think those 2 things go hand in hand, then maybe, check it out. So if you're just going to not talk about the offensive line and be like, Wentz, well, you're wrong about that. If Wentz was sitting in a comfortable space back there and doing all this bullshit, sure. He hasn't been. Now, do you think Heineke's better at being Houdini, escape artist in a situation like this? Yes, I do too. But do I think Heineke should come in? Absolutely not. This is the offense we're building. This is what we tried to do. This is where we're trying to head. So, yeah, if for the fans and us, and we want to watch a guy like Heinicke play, who I love. I've said it here a million times. I adore him. And then in a situation like that, when he's under pressure and he's back there just pulling out all the tricks and all the stops, yeah, man, he's got a better feel back there than he's got more backyard football style than Carson Wentz. But Carson Wentz is our quarterback. If we protect our quarterback, we've shown what he can do. He had 1 bad game against Philly. He held on forever, and that was terrible. But, he wasn't great against Dallas, but this offensive line stinks. If you don't have anyone rushing in the top 32, you've given up the most sacks, you've given up that many, it's a joke to me. How about Aiden Hutchinson, the rookie in Detroit in week 2, gets 3 sacks. We're making him look like he's a 10-year vet.
Like a Hall of
These are
Famer.
the most embarrassing things I've ever heard. So do me a favor. Say what you want about Carson Wentz. I'm not here to defend him. I'm not. But someone look me dead in the eye and say that it has nothing. Carson Wentz play is unaffected by this shitbag offensive line. And I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
I'm not going to be the person who tells you that because I also we've gotten our ass kicked on the offensive line specifically. In fact, outside of Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen, the trenches have belonged to our opponent for essentially the entirety of the season.
And the hallmark of Ron Rivera's teams in Carolina when they used to come play us is they kicked our ass at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
When we lost to them, we know why. They beat our ass. They physically beat us up. And that's what we felt was coming. And watching this go the other way has given me a lot of anxiety. It's making me feel sick. I cannot, for the life of me, understand how we lose the battle of the line of scrimmage week in, week out.
It's it's upsetting. It's definitely upsetting because it's how you win and lose games, and we're losing games. Hey, on that positive note, subscribe to First Amendment Sports. I want to make sure you can click that button at the bottom of the screen. I never want to miss out on an opportunity to get just 1 or 2 or 3 more subscribers. Help us get to 4,000. Tell a friend. # tell a friend. And if we say something or anything that you agree with or that you think needed to be said or that is an echo of what you said, if someone took a like away from us, I don't know what that's all about.
I mean, I earned it. I'm just saying.
You earned the like, and then they took they gave it back.
I earned the re-like.
They gave it back. All right, so that, again, we have no idea who you are. We don't know what it is that you like. That's between you and Google. And that's a very private legal enterprise and relationship that we're not a part of. So, but you know what? That thumbs up number, I'll tell you what.
No one's going to find out your search history. Just relax.
I don't think it'll come back to haunt you, but to be fair, I have no idea. And someone like that, appreciate you guys. So, anyways, that was my my shtick for tonight in terms of bumping us up. We're going to get to 4,000 subscribers. That is our goal in the short term. We are so close. So, on the quarterback thing, Kevin, my thought is this. I love that we have a $2 million backup in Taylor Heinicke who can come in at any point during a game that is competitive where our starting quarterback can no longer go. If at some point, really to me, any point, where the coaching staff is like, you know what, this game is out of hand, we're no longer putting our best player, who's Carson Wentz, on the field, I'm of the mind, if you make that call, it's got to be Sam Howell. And I'm not skipping over
He's
Taylor
going to
Heinicke.
be inactive.
What's
Yeah.
that? Well, that's why.
inactive.
So to me, at some point, that's going to be a signal. Because I think he's going to get dressed here at some point.
Bro, if we start waving the white flag, Rivera might as well just hop in the car.
That's true, Kev. That's true.
Head on back down to Carolina or
I
out
mean,
west or
if
wherever
you're
the
down
heck
by
he goes.
25 in the fourth, I'm okay giving Sam Howell a drive or two. Maybe
Sure,
that
of
is
course.
Taylor Heinicke territory.
Nah,
but
that's fine.
I just want to get him some snaps.
But like I said to the Sam Howell people that were saying, let's put Sam Howell in there. I'm like, man, everyone's just looking for it. I get it. I understand it. Sam Howell, senior year at Carolina, he should have gone to the NFL after his junior year because all his weapons and his whole O-line went. He stuck around because he's a good dude and he wanted to hang out another year. And we found out what happens when your O-line stinks. He was half the player he was at Carolina that he was junior year.
And our
no
O-line
weapons,
stinks.
no O-line. So now we have a few weapons, and he's probably all right. But you don't want to put a new guy back behind an O-line that's given up the most sacks in the NFL.
Understood.
With a turkey. I'm sorry, the turkey got me. I can't believe I'm a fan of this team, and we had to watch a quarterback get sacked on 3 consecutive possessions and watch a rookie get 3 also. Stuff like that just you understand the O-line code. That crushes people, and that is soul crushing. So do we pull him before 70%? That's great. I think the third goes to the third round, turns into a second.
Yeah. I don't agree with benching Wentz at all in any way, shape, or form, and I don't agree with yanking him from a game at this point that's still in question because he is our best quarterback on the roster. Yeah. All I'm saying is, in some of these games, if and when they get out of hand, I'd like to have Hal active so that he can go out there and receive some snaps. That's all. But that is to differentiate me from the people who think that changing quarterbacks will change the dynamic of the offense and provide a spark. And I am not saying that at all.
That can be the case in the National Football League. It's not our case right now.
It's not our case.
You don't just all of a sudden go, all right, our offensive line's broken in half. Let's take someone else out there and see what the hell that guy can do. Because like I said earlier, I've watched Heineke under duress, and he's pretty creative. He's got some ability, some backyard baller type skills. But that's just admitting our O-line stinks so bad. We'll be better with Heineke.
Yeah.
That's not how you win in the NFL.
It means you're not going to play the way you want to play. No. And now you're playing week 3 and week 4 preseason games on a weekly basis.
Your hand is forced, understood. But let's not hustle up and have someone else take the punishment.
Anyone else besides Curtis Samuel? So we're giving Terry McLaurin an I on the first quarter. I'm not even. He gets no grade because if I have to give him a grade, I'm giving him an A because he's our best receiver. But it sucks that we didn't throw to him, so we can't grade him on production. So I'm not giving him a grade. I think Curtis Samuel and Antonio Gibson are up there in terms of offensive grades. So anyone besides those guys
Dotson, man.
I think so too. That's what I wanted to get to.
He's been fantastic, man.
He's getting a solid B for me.
I mean, heading into this weekend, he was tied for the lead with Stephon Diggs for most touchdown receptions as a rookie. That wasn't a rookie record; it's a National Football League record. He's been running routes, strong hands. He's a stud for us. I'm not saying he's an A, but he's a bright spot.
I think he's borderline A minus B plus because he showed he belongs
from a lot of A's for a shitty offense. That's all.
Do we give Gibson and Samuel A's?
No, I gave him a B.
Yeah, so that would be the only A. So he can't be an A. So I think this team deserves 2 A's. And it's on the middle of our defensive line, which going into the season is not exactly crazy. AGH. Now he's got to play another year of college. AGH. He ain't coming out this year.
Yeah. He's been forced to play one more year at USC, making millions with his NIL deal.
Yes.
Before he makes millions, because I'll tell you one thing. Caleb Williams does not want to leave Los Angeles, California, making millions, and head to Landover, Maryland, to make millions. Although he might. He's a good boy. By the way, he's a homeboy.
Can we, as a board and as a basement, maybe we need Benjamin on this too. Can we start thinking this out? Just a couple of steps, just broadly, 100,000 foot level. We now live in an age when somebody gets to be the starting quarterback at USC for a living, right? Mm-hmm. For a living. Like I don't even know what classes he's going to. I don't even care. But he's a professional collegiate quarterback in Southern California, at one of the more storied programs in the nation, at one of the most storied venues in the world, and surrounded by Southern California goodness. Now, if they win a national championship or not, who cares? That gig at 20 years old. I know, Greg. Dude, seriously, Greg.
I mean,
are you
take
like,
it easy, bro?
Are you hitting?
Guy's the best I've ever seen. Guys, odds on favorite for the Heisman. The guy's a superstar legend around here.
I mean, at this point, Greg's throwing fastballs at the
know.
Ducks'
He
heads
just-
with the
I know.
breadcrumbs.
I
Like the
know.
breadcrumbs are literally beating Ducks in the
It's
face.
been a tough night. It's been a tough night.
Greg, like throw them like this. Like give the Ducks a chance. Like you don't need to hit the Ducks in the face with your stale breadcrumbs. For God's sakes, you're gonna have to leave that. Now again, they become accustomed to be. We've argued that they've been professional for years already, but now they're actually collecting checks legally.
Yeah.
And to go from that collegiate setting to the NFL setting where now, as opposed to 10, 15 years ago, as a first-round quarterback, you know, the Sam Bradfords of the world, they catch $50 million check on day one without ever snapping a ball, right? That's not the case anymore. Your Trevor Lawrences, you're even back to your Baker Mayfields, that whole era, that Kyler Murray's, the whole nine, all of them. It's a, whatever it is, you get this, and you'll like it, and you'll take it. Are we going to see, and I want everyone to bring in on this, are we going to see a situation where the best college quarterback in the land with eligibility left is going to say, I'd rather stay here than play for the worst team in the league who has the number one pick in the draft next year, because that's how it works. So, you know, Jacksonville, Washington, the Giants, you know, the Jets, name your terrible team over the last 15 years. What if, I think we're getting really close to a guy being like, you know what? From a business perspective, I'm just as good staying here with the hot girls and the sunny palm trees and the 100,000 seat stadium and the 7 days a week of people loving everything I do, like 24/7 for a huge paycheck. Why in the world would I give that up at all in life, in a world, the world that we live in, to go be a professional quarterback for marginally more money at a shitty organization? Like that's is that not going to happen? Are we not on the same page here? Is that
No, it can happen, and it very well might.
I think
And
we're close.
It'll certainly happen in basketball now that guys are gonna have to make these choices and the 18-year level. But you know, we always said they should get paid, but I'm not sure about what's going on now.
They're getting paid.
I didn't say they were supposed to be getting
Mills.
millions.
Millions.
But I will
Okay.
say, just Greg Martin, we in D.C., Ken and I years ago saw in back-to-back weeks, and we covered Caleb Williams I think we
Since
did
he was
him
a freshman.
7 different games we called on his,
And we stood in
by
the end
way,
zone at that
he's going to be a
freshman
star.
game between St. John's.
And the 2 best high school quarterbacks I've ever witnessed in my life, ever up close with my own eyes, not on highlight tapes or blah blah. Watch play live, Caleb Williams and Bryce Young, and both of them were freaking ridiculous. They were both professional quarterback looking dudes as 14, 15, 16-year-old studs. So I enjoy watching the hell out of them. We'll see how they progress. Who knows?
Yep.
But they've certainly taken to each level very simply and easily since they were in 8th grade, which we've been following them since.
Let me ask you a question which I don't know the answer to, and I'm assuming none of us know the answer to. If you win, if you're a student, a minor for that matter, making millions, which is happening at this very second, are you paying the taxes on where your school is, or where your family lives? Like when we were in college.
Wait.
No, let me just say what I'm saying. I was on my parents' health care until I was like 22, 23 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like I was still getting appointments for my family doctor until they made you leave, right? My mail was still delivered to my parents' house. My report cards, unfortunately, were still delivered to my parents' house. I think I was paying taxes from my parents' address. So, like, are we going to get to the point where like states with like different tax situations are going to start having baller football teams?
California's getting all of Caleb's millions.
Okay.
That's I get it, but you know.
I don't know. It's causing me to think about a lot of things.
I kept my college cash under my mattress, so I don't have any answers to your other questions.
I didn't have any cash.
But if there's millions, then it's going to the state where the millions are being made.
So what he can say, Houston is winless, and I would rather own stock in them.
So that's the other thing.
Yeah.
For all of you Fire Rivera people, and listen, I'm not saying he deserves or doesn't deserve. I don't like the midseason stuff, especially when he's supposed to be here to turn around our culture. But we really want to let Mrs. Snyder pick the next coach. How are we gonna go about this?
Yeah. Okay. So let's do the Rivera thing now because it is on. It's been on the board all night long. It's been here. What grade are we giving Rivera? And if you don't mind, I respect the comeback to my thoughts on this. I have no problem with the way that we approach the season. I love the talent that was in place as we came into the season. I love the idea of who we see ourselves coming into the season. And I like a lot of what was going on the football side of the organization, which is Rivera's thing coming into the season. The only reason why I'm not giving Ron Rivera an A, and by the way, no one cares what I think, nor should they, is like a very like fan guy sitting on his couch thing. I feel like I was much more angry than he was a lot of times over the last 3 weeks. I appreciate his ability to keep control of his emotions, and I appreciate his ability to. But sometimes I almost think he's too level. Like the throwing the challenge flag late was just like a teeny tiny little thing, where I'm just like wondering, like stuff like that. To me, that's the difference between an A and a B for a head coach. I think it's nitpicking, to be honest with you, and I'll tell you that right now. Players between the whistles got to play, and 1 and 3 is as much of a coaching problem as is a player's problem. But there is no freaking way I am on anybody. I've had so many people ask me over the last 2 weeks, and I'm shocked by it. About it, is Rivera going to last the season? Oh my God, yes. YES, capital Y, capital E, capital S. We have no business. We have no business at all as an organization firing a man like Ron Rivera because we're 1 and 3. That is the dumbest thing, in my opinion, my humble 2 cents opinion, that I have heard with regard to our organization. He is not our problem. He has been more a part of a solution to our problems that have been here for 5, 6, 7 times his 3-year stint in this city. That it is, to me, ludicrous. First of all, he should never have taken our job. We're 1 and 3, and we haven't done a whole lot, in the landscape of the league and the standings and the playoffs and blah, blah, blah in the 3 years now that he's been here. Okay. But he had no business. He would have gotten offers from better organizations than us. He saw a challenge, and he went for it. And it was the biggest challenge that you could possibly have asked for, and that's the kind of man that he is. He sees a challenge, he wants to take it on, and he wants to embrace it fully. I said it.
Well, he needs to embrace us playing better fully. That needs to happen. I agree with you. He doesn't need to leave this season, but I'm sick to death of him.
Yeah.
Why aren't we better? All these teams that started off 2 years ago the same way we did, from bullshit. Philly was a dumpster fire 2.5 years ago. Yeah. Why are they
fired their Super Bowl coach?
They're undefeated and kicking the crap out of everyone, including us. And why are we still spinning our wheels in the mud? That's a fair question to ask.
Agreed.
I respect the hell out of the guy, and I don't think he deserves to be fired.
Mid-season.
No. Something needs to happen, man. We need to compete. I'm sick of being down 24, 22, getting the shit kicked out of us. The offensive line just getting pummeled. Just teams running the ball. In fact, this week we ran the ball up their ass, which is the only thing we could do.
Yeah, someone said on the board.
We did it effectively, and I appreciated that. The last 2 weeks, teams haven't run it all over. They've just done whatever they wanted. So.
Whatever they wanted. And in the places where we've found silver linings in terms of production, specifically numbers, you could very, very well argue that a lot of that has had to do with situational stuff, in these games that, we were either down 20 points at halftime or things were running away from us in the fourth quarter. You don't fire Ron Rivera midseason. You can make anyone you want the interim head coach, but if you fire Ron Rivera,
we're gonna interim them.
Yeah,
we're just gonna badass just change the whole word. and just give it a whole new deal?
Dude, Megan, by the way,
It's not the interim, it's the interim.
Yeah, Megan.
You're the new interim. I'm gonna be like, what? Say what?
I get crushed for that.
I always not a word. It's not a real word.
For the interim, we'll consider it a word.
Oh God, that sounds horrible.
You're not gonna get a good quality man to show up and accept a job when you're the organization that just ushers out a person who shouldn't be up. No, yeah, go ahead.
Andrew Griffith Humphreys, this is correct. Ken and I talked about this outside. What kills me is that we have no balance. Everything we're supposed to do, and I sat there watching the game Sunday, and I was thinking, like, it's like all of our golf games. Like, you're hitting the ball off the tee well, and then you can't putt. And it seems to be what our deal is here in town, football-wise, with the burgundy and gold, our skins. When Joe Gibbs was the coach for 12 years during his first stint, and follow me quickly, I'm going to try and say it properly. Points scored on offense in the league, putting us in the top half, as well as points allowed, putting us in the top half. So great offense and great defense. A well-rounded team with specials is how teams advance and win. When Joe Gibbs was here, 9 out of the 12 seasons. His first stint.
12 seasons.
9 out of the 12 seasons from 81 to 92. 9 out of those 12. We were in the top half of the NFL on offense, points scored, and the top half in the NFL for defensive points allowed. In 1991, when we won the Super Bowl, we were number 1 in points scored, number 2 in points allowed, and that's been the apex. That's been the high point for us. In the last 25 years, Ken, I will ask you this. In the last 25 years, how many times has our franchise, has our team been in the top half offensively and the top half defensively? Not a huge, I'm not saying that's a big deal. I'm just saying that puts you in, you could be 16th and 16th and be winning.
So
how many times in the
25
last 25 years?
Which spans even, before Snyder or right at the beginning of Snyder, the beginning of FedEx. You think you had the butt end of some North Turner years, which were good offensively but not great defensively. You had Spurrier, whose name we shall not speak. Schottenheimer, who was decent defensively, but those games were
8-8, our only non-losing head coach.
There you go, AGH.
Joe Gibbs.
There you go.
AGH.
Gibbs part 2, 05 and 07 were good years because we made the playoffs, and that's it. Jay Gruden, I don't think ever was good for both of those. So I guessed 2.
Yeah, the answer is 1.
Oh.
The answer is 1. One time in 25 years have we been in the top half of the NFL offensively and the top half of the NFL defensively in the same season. And shockingly enough, that was 2005, a team that was coached by Joe Jackson Gibbs. So not only have we never hired a coach since Snyder's been here that's had a winning record, we've never had a team that was in the top half of the NFL. Top half!
Just the top half.
Top 16 in the NFL. Well, I guess there was a 31 and a 30 year there at the end, 2002. But legitimately, that stat is so shocking to me. It makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah. I was sitting there on Sunday just going, why can't we be more balanced?
And by the way, in that 25-year span, because you're talking about Jacksonville and Carolina coming in long,
man.
I guarantee you, in that 25-year span, both of those franchises probably could say that at least once because they both, the Mark Brunell years in Jacksonville, they had a damn good team.
Yep.
And Carolina made it deep.
Well, they had to fix how you expanded. Everyone was getting plucked, and they had talent. They were loaded. They set those guys up. They didn't make them run the Tampa Bay gauntlet of expansion.
Under Ron Rivera, by the way, in Carolina, just so we're clear.
Of course.
So by the way, if you're with me here and you still got your hand near a mouse and that thumbs up, clearly the answer is very clear. It is time once again, for the third time, to hire Joe Jackson Gibbs as our head coach. I think that's the answer. That is clearly the answer. Thumb it up if you're on board.
To be fair, in the last 25 years, we've been the bottom 10 offensively 15 times and the bottom 10 defensively 10. So can he do worse? Can he do worse than that?
No.
I don't think he can.
We need him
back.
He
is the only solution we've had in 25 years. So you're going to run it back?
Break the glass. Break the glass. In case of emergency, break the glass. It's Joe Jackson Gibbs time once again.
Sheesh.
I mean, can you imagine the awesome 9-8 teams we'll have under him for the next 2 years?
Rivera said he's the reason why he came here.
I know. So I know the board. There's people. First of all, if this season goes the way it's going, everything's on the table. All bets are off. No one's going to sit here fight for any. I always think back to it was Doc Walker who said it that drove it into my skull. I'm sure other people have said it when over the last 25 years you get to the off season and there's people saying you got to find the core, keep the core. And I famously always remember Doc saying, from sitting this far away from here to there, saying the core of what? The core of what? We're terrible. Like, what's the core of that? You and I know. We just re-upped Jonathan Allen. We just re-upped Terry McLaurin. These are our guys. They're here. They're not going anywhere. But the idea of we have a core when we've been so bad for so long, it gets a little bit tough. RFK playoff record 11-1. Ken Harris. That is pretty strong.
I mean, Joe Gibbs was 17-7 in the playoffs.
In the playoffs,
we haven't had another guy with a record
in the regular season.
In the regular season, like it's a joke, man.
Well, we are reporting, and we continue to report here from the basement that the sale of the Washington Commanders is imminent. It's in the offing. I know that I don't speak for Kevin because Kevin is keeping me kind of level-headed here. He's saying, "Hey, by the way, Ken, this guy might literally own the team for the next 60 years."
He's a cockroach.
I understand.
You can't get rid of dudes like that.
I
man.
do.
You step on them, they just keep
So
on.
we
popping up
need
in the
your
darkness.
anchor in the sand, foot on the ground, my head's in the clouds. But this is happening. Dan Snyder's selling. I read an awesome article today about not Dan. I want to say Dan Sarver. Now, when I think about Sarver and Dan Snyder, now it's just Dan Sarver. To me, they're intertwined.
They'll be combined together in hell.
They will. They will. And I'm confident that the market for our team will be such that Snyder will be like, you know what? Yeah, I'll take $4.5 billion to walk away from an absolute abomination that he's created. Paul Western, good to see you this evening. He is enjoying racing, and he did. He did. The point about him being instrumental in us getting Ron Rivera is not lost. The Joe Jackson Gibbs has been not just a bright spot in the 80s when he got us to Super Bowls, not just a bright spot in the early 2000s when he saved our bacon and made us watchable for a few years, but I do believe that us getting Ron Rivera is better than we deserved at the time. And so the fact that we have Ron Rivera, I remain okay with. And
He's a good man.
He's a good man.
And we needed a good man to solve a lot of this shit. Now we need a good coach to solve a lot of this shit. And he's going to have to do both. And I don't think he had any idea of the amount of duties he would have when he signed up for this. I'm not sure if hindsight was 20/20 that he would ever have been our coach. So
yeah, that's why I say he
but
never
I
should
agree
take
with
the
that
job.
part. So and I understand the frustration of the fans. Like we just talked about it.
Yep.
Ron Rivera's plus minus in 2.5 years. Or 2.25 years, minus 15. It's the second worst in the NFC, only to Chicago over that term. Our plus minus since Joe Gibbs left, I'll leave that for you guys to imagine. It's grotesque. When he was here, it was bizarre. Joe Gibbs 171 and 101. We've lost 101. All that crap doesn't matter anymore. What matters now is winning football games. Can we please get the trend going up where we start off 1-5, 1-4, and cut it off at 1-3 this year and get to the point where we have a winning record? Because I do believe the talent is there. We got to get through this little O-line spot, though. That's scaring me because it's been, I believe, our worst unit, and now it's our most banged up unit as well. So
it's our most banged up unit. I have two things. So I'm gonna do the Ken Harris and I'm gonna do the OL. I got two things that you said that I want the two of us to talk about and get some comments from the board. But the thing about Dan Snyder, not to wrap it up or put a bow on it because we're not closing it out. It's gonna be a thing. The idea of the kind of the trumped up nature of Snyder and Jerry Jones this past weekend at Dallas, the idea that Jerry Jones is somehow protecting Dan Snyder in the owners group. So now this is the Game of Thrones, right? So we are in the upside down to combine two shows, core themes. We're in a weird spot because the NFL, these 32 guys, they can do whatever the F they want. They're billionaires. They really don't care about a lot of stuff that we care about. And the things we think that they should care about and that they will care about ultimately aren't the things that make them do the things that they do. So, understanding that they live in this universe and we live in this universe. Understanding that. the Game of Thrones of owners in the NFL. This is a Game of Thrones all day long. This is a $6 billion team, and it's literally going up by the second for some stupid reason. But that's the way that the world works, and there's people out there who will pay it. The idea that Jerry Jones has the ability in that room, inside that Game of Thrones, to be able to say, to have enough clout to be able to keep 8 guys, in lockstep, so that they can't force Dan Snyder to sell the team. Where I will agree with Ken Harris's comment about the preemptive strike, and then he's not going anywhere, is if Dan and Jerry are playing that game and keeping that group of 8 together, like a game of Survivor.
He looked like a drunken frat boy with a terrible
was
haircut.
so bad.
His face is all chunky. He
So
looks
bad.
awful. His outfit's disgusting. He's a terrible looking dude.
It's so bad. It's all bad. This is the land of no one cares about anything. He doesn't care about how he looks. He doesn't care about.
No, it's like he's
what he
going
looks
for like the president who's going for a second term, who looks like completely like disheveled and worn from how stressful it is. No, turd. Brush your hair, take a shower, and get a jacket that fits. You have millions of dollars. You look like such a nerd.
It's unbelievable.
No one feels sympathy for you. God, I want to just. I'd like to punch him.
So I don't understand where the line is. The line between Jerry and Dan exists. I don't necessarily know if I want to understand that line at all, because I think it involves some rear butt cheek skin. I think that the best chance we have is that he'll be compelled on a market argument. He bought this team for nothing. He bought his minority owners out for nothing. He can literally walk away with a briefcase full of, I'm guessing, north of $4 billion in cash. $4 billion in cash for ruining a franchise and literally destroying our lives. And he walks out with a bucket of money. At some point, like we all, like I know, like people like us on our level, people are like, what? How much would it take for you to eat that cheeseburger that's been laying on the floor for the last hour? Those are the kinds of things we think about. It's like maybe like what, $15, $25? I don't know.
That cheeseburger's gone.
It's gone.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I already ate it. Like that's the world we live in.
I don't know you anything. Do I?
No, I'll give you the $25. But for him, it's like, at what point does not shitting all over us become profitable enough for him to say, yeah, I did it. Like the jumping up in the air, because his feet like this far off the ground, being like, I did it. And then I got $4.3 billion for doing it. I think we're getting closer to that, because I am super concerned that Dan and Jerry have 8 guys who, like, for all the things Dan and Jerry have done, like those unnamed other 6 owners, like that's some serious, like, in the closet with robes on, old school, like Inquisition style terribleness going on with those
Hold
guys.
up.
Okay.
We're trying to fix our culture.
Yes.
And our disgraced former owner, who's now the
Suspended
spouse,
owner? Yes.
the spouse of our owner. So our disgraced owner's spouse is now hanging out with Slimy Jarrah on the freaking 50-yard line.
Yes.
That's not helping culture.
No.
It's not helping our
No.
culture.
It's really bad for culture.
It's not good. It's not good for our culture.
Super bad for culture.
Yeah, not a good look for anybody in that culture. Good Lord.
But I do think the cheeseburger on the floor, what,
Listen.
that could be like, by the way, patent pending. Patent pending on the
Thank
cheeseburger
you,
on the floor.
Ken. I
logo.
appreciate it. Listen, if I see a cheeseburger, I eat a cheeseburger. That's
And you're like, you offered me $25. You can't take that back. You can't take that back. I'm like, but you already ate the cheeseburger.
I'm sorry. I knew it wasn't mine. I also knew it was on the floor, and it's no longer there.
It's no
So
longer there.
Right.
So it's a weird situation. I do think that Snyder's gonna ultimately be hornswoggled into taking $4.5 billion, like in the weirdest move ever. And to Kevin's point, no way am I firing Dan Snyder. I'm sorry, am I firing Ron Rivera, or really anyone for that matter, and letting him or her
yeah,
pick the next person.
Tanya and Dan select. Oh,
I mean,
God.
here's where we've been. If we're honest, if we're being honest, like if we live in like a legitimate world where not like what's right is always what happens, but where you think like, all right, this is pretty obvious. He's a terrible guy. He's done terrible things. He probably shouldn't own a team. Like that's been the case now for about 5 or 6 years, give or take, right? Like we've known this about Snyder now. Like the honeymoon was over quickly. We wanted him to sell for a long time, but we didn't know about the cheerleaders in Costa Rica or the sexual harassment on planes or the N-bombs on the emails or the, all the stuff that we do know now. And for the stuff that we don't know that Mary Jo White is finding out, we didn't know all this stuff. And yet, in that time frame, when we feel like we needed a new owner and that we were hoping it would come, the owner that we hated, that we desperately wanted to leave, he didn't just pick one new name for us. He picked two. He didn't just pick one terrible jersey for us. He's picked multiple terrible jerseys for us. He hasn't been in charge of just one terrible radio broadcast. It's been terrible since he fired freaking Sonny Sam and Frank. He hasn't just been responsible for us having one terrible stadium. He's also now responsible for us having no options to move from FedEx Field anytime soon. Even the place where he wanted to take us in Virginia, which I was dead set against, they don't even want us anymore because he's such a bad guy. So like everything that he's in charge of from a standpoint of our organization is scrotum punchingly bad. It is unbelievably the wrong thing. So all I'm saying is let's just keep what we got and pray to God that what we think is the thing that's supposed to happen and probably will happen, happens. And just to say the words, which I don't feel like we always say, of course we could trade one bad guy for another bad guy. I get it. It's possible. We have to acknowledge that possibility. People with billions and billions of dollars, there could be a bad one amongst them, as we found out. But we're done with this guy. He's got to go. He can't be making any more crucial decisions, hiring decisions, culture decisions.
Comb your hair, sir.
Hair combing, like grooming decisions.
And his face is all fat. What happened? He got all fat, chunky face.
Dude, he's been living on a yacht for a year in international waters.
It's very fair. He looks like it. He looks pickled.
He'd be better off if he wore like some khaki cutoffs and some flip flops and maybe like a Castaway shirt.
He'd be better off floating up and
with
down
like a Wilson
the Atlantic
volleyball.
Ocean. Maybe not dead, just almost. And then he gets saved by the Coast Guard. They take him to some.
I think he needs to go Ed Helms style, just chip off a tooth. He just needs to complete the look.
Yeah, he looks like shit.
He really does. And you know what? He does have the sun-kissed tips, top heavy. EO. I keep wanting to say top heavy, but it's EO.
Greg Martin's right about this. The reason why he's still around, everyone else has been canceled in 2 seconds in the last few years. And the biggest dirtbag of them all is still around because he's being protected by the shield of all 32, and it just takes 24 apparently, but it only takes some dirtbags. And all them dirtbags been hanging out together and doing what, I don't know.
They know each other's secrets.
Right.
They know each other's secrets.
No, everyone's it's a house of cards, man.
Yeah.
It's all coming down once the Joker gets plucked. It's over.
Well, so yeah, again, it's all about one person. It's the Pentangelo. We talked about it before. Someone's got to take that bath, and and go out the honorable way. I gotta believe. Bad guys like that flock together, it won't last forever. And that might be our cross to bear for a little while longer. But I do believe in my heart, but I also believe based on the world we live in. Like, this is like the one time when you're kind of like, hello, 2022. Remember how you canceled every single person living who ever did anything ever? Like, what about that guy right there, who's like the worst guy that we all know about? I mean, for God's sake, like, point your cannon over there for once.
He's done everything that needs that cancel love.
I mean,
he's done it.
This is like biggest cancellation target of all time.
I'm not a huge cancel culture guy, but I like to pour all my cancel culture energy.
Can it work for us once?
For God's sake, please.
Can it just work for us? I mean,
all right. So, let's go. Real quick. What's the spread of the Tennessee Titans?
Oh, it was 3.
Commanders.
It's been 3. It's been fluctuating. I think it's actually gone towards Tennessee. I think like what they call that so they open the lines for the
What did it open at? Because it was at 2 right before I walked into your basement.
Yeah, I think it was opening closer to 3.
Okay.
And I thought it was moving toward, but the problem is it's been moving because it's 2.5 now. It's been moving because the whole world and whoever else on top of that decided.
Saw Daniel Snyder at midfield on gummies on Sunday, just
We're like,
50 milligrams out of his face.
They're like calling their guy and they're like, hey, how much can I liquidate everything I owned for and put on the Tennessee Titans on Sunday? Which, by the way, is a genius idea. I don't bet on Washington games. Haven't since Patrick Ramsey was here. But I will say it's a 2.5 point spread at the moment. The Tennessee Titans, former AFC number 1 seed, they've been up and down themselves. They're clearly farther along on the
Derrick Henry
farther
coming to
thing.
town.
Derrick Henry is.
that-
I think Ryan Tannehill is certainly good enough
Yeah.
to make up to make some plays with his
Every
arm.
other average quarterback seems to look pretty damn good against us. I'm sure Tannehill's ready to flex his muscles in town, but the big dog's coming to town, and the big dog needs to be tackled. And then, our boys are ready to step up to that challenge. There's some guys that know each other pretty well.
Yes.
In this matchup,
Some Alabama boys.
And I look forward to seeing that tide collide. On
So
both sides.
Kev, here's the. I didn't want to just like ball up a big thing of lipstick and just smack it down right away. But as great as Derrick Henry is, and he's great, and I love him, and there's not very many people out there who can argue with how good of an NFL football player he is and how tough he is. His game plays into what we
I knew
want
you were
to
going
do.
to say he was a good matchup for us.
He's a good matchup for us. He is, in a way that other guys aren't. Now, is he fast? Yes. Can he destroy us? Yes. He can catch the ball? Of course he can. But if you make him go sideways, you have a chance. Now, that requires Cole Holcomb to get there fast. That requires Jamin Davis to get there fast. That requires Darren Payne and Jonathan Allen to make him go sideways. Ahead of steam, it's over. But he's not the Travis Etienne. He's not the Miles Sanders. He's not the DeAndre Swift. He's effective, to put it bluntly. Yes. Yeah, pour another one so I can.
Just a little bit.
Maybe
here.
I can try to convince
While you pontificate.
Derrick Henry gets his. That's what he does. That's what he's in the business of doing, and business has been very good for Derrick Henry. Our defense, for whatever reason, is good up front and can put hands on running backs. If we make him go side to side, we can have a better day than if we don't do that. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I
I just blacked out. I don't know. I don't know what I said for the last 5 minutes, but
I know this. We did a pretty good job against the Cowboys stopping
Mm-hmm.
the run. The Eagles didn't even try and run it on us because they were just throwing it all over us. 400 yards of offense week in, week out. We got to figure something out. I'm not thrilled about Derrick Henry coming into town.
Yep.
I'm not thrilled about the matchup. He knows who he's going up against.
Yep.
These guys know who they're going up against. I'm pumped to watch that. I don't have a ton of confidence in us doing anything right now. So
That's fair. That's fair. It's real. It's legit.
I'm an optimist, and I had such a bad experience watching a Commanders Cowboys game. It
Yeah.
was just from start to finish, it was rotten, and it made me feel sick. And the weather was bad, and the uniforms weren't great, and Jerry Land was all hopping, and it just all of it made me sick. So it's going to be hard for me to say that I think we're going to beat the Titans this week, but I think we can.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that matchup. We got some big boys that can go with their big boys, but we got to get loose. We have got to get loose. We have got to make plays. What happened since the first 2 drives of the season? What has happened to our offense? I was like, I can't wait to watch this team play.
Those were great 2 drives.
Jacksonville linebackers had their jock straps all over the field at FedEx. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
We were fast. We were quick. We were making plays. It was exciting. Let's try and capture some of that. Recapture some of that. Week 1 early season magic. The first 2 drives, I think, since the 90s that we scored on back-to-back on opening day. Can we get back there a little bit, please? Maybe put our defense in a good position. They can pin their ears back and rush the passer instead of worrying about everything all at once.
Now, the Titans haven't been a high-scoring team. They lost. In fact, they've not scored more than 24 points. In both their wins, they scored 24 points. They've given up 41. They gave it up to the Bills. They lost to the Giants. Can we just take a second to remember that we play the Giants back to back on a bye week sandwich
I
this
know.
season?
So strange.
Like, all right.
Giants, bye week Giants. They're like, they won't care.
Do we bring in any O-line, EO? I don't think so.
Yeah, we brought in a guard. We signed a guard this afternoon. We got rid of John Toth,
Yes,
the
yes.
former male model. I mean, I know that was really, really going
These
well for
guys,
you, but
at this
he's
point in
gone.
time, the people that we brought into the season, we still have enough of those guys to keep trying with those guys. I don't think we're at the point where we're starting or pressing into action guys who haven't been on our squad since camp broke. That said, I mean, you got to start trying a lot of different things if this continues to not work. So, Kevin, here's what I wanted to ask you about Carson Wentz and our offense and our offensive line specifically, and Terry McLaurin. I watched the game last night between the Rams and the 49ers, and I've taken a lot of beating from UNT, deservedly so, for my love of Sean McVay. But I know you have
A deep
elephant's
love
memory.
of Deebo Samuel. Yes.
You know how I said, and I've always said, as soon as McVay and Shanahan got into the same division at the same time, that those games, in my opinion, have been must-watch TV from the first second that it happened. I love those two games every year. I love those games. I watched the Rams find out ways to get the ball to Cooper Kupp in like 1.5 seconds. Now, we don't have Stafford. I don't know how far behind Stafford Carson Wentz is.
We don't have Cup.
We don't have Kupp.
He's
But
the
we
best
have.
route runner.
But part of what makes Kupp great is the work that him and Stafford have done since the second that Stafford signed that contract, right? So there's in addition to Kupp being a great wide receiver and Stafford being a very good quarterback, they've worked so much together that they can draw plays up based on the knowledge that they have with each other. I don't know that Wentz and McLaurin have that, but I'm just asking, like, if he's holding on to the ball too long and we can't block, shouldn't more targets be to 5-yard routes for McLaurin somehow, some way?
And I don't mind that. And he's gotten a couple. But
Yeah.
that just seems to be the ones that have gone to Curtis Samuel, and it's just been all we could do. And I'm sure the game plan, they say everyone's got a game plan until they get punched in the face, Mike Tyson. We've been getting punched in our face repeatedly, and that's why Terry McLaurin has 27 targets. The game plan has not been, and I understand that, has not been to say, hey, let's get the ball to Terry once out of every 11 plays,
Right.
which is disgusting to me. So that has not been what we've tried to do. Now let's figure it out. We are still in the early stages of figuring out this offense, and I don't want to get screamed at for that because I'm not giving any excuses. I'm not. So what? But it's true. And Carson Wentz seems to be a guy that might take a little longer with some of these guys, especially Terry. He hit that one fade. I mean, he threw that ball down the sidelines on that go route, and he put it on a rope about 50 yards. And that's been the real only highlight between the two. And Heineke and him struggle with their, codependency. So this is something I think is going to take a little bit of time. But Terry's always he's always there where he's supposed to be. He's Mr. Reliable in that way. But that doesn't mean the offensive line is going to allow that to go down. So, yes, we should get him some more touches on those quick passes, every bit as much as anyone else. But it just doesn't seem to be a way to run an offense, especially when you pay a guy $28 million to spread the ball down the damn field. So right now we need to figure it out up front. We need to be able to run the ball more effectively and protect the quarterback so we can get to some semblance of a play action, which right now we have not.
None.
Much. Yes.
We were running the play action, but no one believes it.
And when you run the play action and no one believes it, you get your ass whooped.
Yep.
And we've seen this.
So Ken Harris, among others, EO, AGH, Greg, Robert Cohen, I do think that in conjunction with an ownership change over the long course of the next 24 to 36 months, excuse me, that was a little bit of something. I think that Kevin is accurate in saying that the development of our offense is still on the early side. When we came into this season, it's not like we came into the season thinking like, oh, we've got here. We're going to be a Super Bowl contender. I think we thought we'd be a little bit more competitive than we've been in the first quarter of the season.
Imagine interrupt real
Please.
quick. No, we got the first 2 drives of the season, and we look like, oh, shit. Like
Yep.
Mike Martz was somewhere. Our old quarterback coach from 100 years ago was calling plays out there. It looked like the greatest show on turf for 2 drives. Curtis Samuel was making people look like terrible football players in open space. Since then, it's been a another, what do you call them? Scrotum punches?
Yeah,
yes,
just
those.
like a
Just
speed bag,
yes,
just working like a speed bag.
yes, that's how it feels.
That's how it feels, and yep. But if we can find the silver lining
On the
on
scrotum
that
punch?
on the scrotum bag punch,
Oh, that means it's like an old guy getting punched in the scrotum, Ken.
that the silver-haired lining, the silver lining. Okay,
I'm not sure what you line it with.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying.
The positive side of that, by the way, that should be worth a thumbs up. The positive side of that is that we do have young talent, and I don't think it will ultimately be wasted if and only if over the course of the next 12 games. That took a left turn quickly. Thanks, Robert. We appreciate that.
Apparently, the Irish whiskey is kicking in.
If we can,
T's right. We always miss it by like a few minutes.
we do. It's a fine line. It's a silver-haired line.
Oh,
The ability for us to maximize the development of players like Dotson specifically, if we're lucky, Jamin Davis.
he's been good, man.
Yes.
He's been good.
If we're lucky, Sam Cosme.
Yeah, he hasn't been great.
If we're super lucky, Brian Robinson.
Can't wait.
Yeah, can't wait.
Hopefully he gets through his practice tomorrow. No crap. And I can't wait to see him this
Me
weekend.
neither.
Yeah.
He belongs in our offense. He will be a
I didn't
difference
even
maker.
think about him going up against Derrick Henry. He's got to be thinking like, good Lord, man.
Dude, is he still calling? That's just straight butt dial. At this point, it's like every night now. I love you, Asim. So the ability for us to maximize the reps of what are clearly young, talented players on our roster still exists for us. It doesn't change the trajectory of our potential window, of being able to get good. It just, unfortunately, it kind of stunts the enjoyability for us in a year that's on the fringe. So we root for a lot of teams. I know a lot of people on the board. They have, regionally, wherever you live, whether it's in the United Kingdom or the Northeast or somewhere else where the Washington football team is your favorite football team, but you also root for a college team over here, a soccer team up here, a baseball team down here, a hockey team over here. We all know what it means to root for a team that in your heart of hearts, it's not a championship contender, but it can make it fun for you throughout the season and then mix it up and make some noise, at least at the beginning of the playoffs. We're not far from that. It feels like we're far from that right now in this second. But ultimately, across the landscape of the league, we're not that far from it. And I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to keep holding on to that. I think that when we come back next week, I'm hoping that we're able to talk about one of those guys, Brian Robinson, having shown himself to be a great talent to add to our repertoire. I hope we're talking about more targets to Terry McLaurin. And ultimately, I'm hoping we're talking about holding a Tennessee offense to that low 20-point output because I believe we can put 30 on this team.
And that Alabama culture, real quick, you go to Alabama because you want to play against the best. You're not going there to be a big fish in a small pond. You're going up against everyone's a 5-star, at least a 4. That's what Brian Robinson had decided to do. This is where he comes from. This is going to be his home opener against Derrick Henry, the NFL leading rusher year in, year out in recent years. He's been the guy. He's been the guy they shoot for. This guy, Brian Robinson, coming off this terrible injury, has the chance to show out in his debut against a guy at his own position who's kind of the king of the castle. I love this Alabama way of, I want what you got. It's like in Ireland, they don't say, hey, what a lovely house Mr. O'Neill has.
Yes.
No, I would love to have Mr. O'Neill's house. What do you say we go and grab it right now? So, Brian Robinson, let's go and grab it. Let's go and grab that W and show everyone that there's 2 running backs on the field on Sunday, and one of them, this city needs to embrace instantly, because we failed him as a city.
Yeah.
We brought a young man into this place and we didn't embrace him properly, and that doesn't go for all of us. But we can fix that on Sunday when he comes out of that locker room. We can make him feel right at home.
Yep.
Like I know he has since the injury, since the shooting, but that was some bullshit. So we got to fix that. We got to fix that as a community, and I think we will. I think
we will
I
too.
think we have our finger on the pulse of that. So. Be nice to see if someone could put a cape on for at least a quarter or two and say, you know what, I came to play some ball, and
that's
I'm
the
done
thing.
losing. Yeah.
If anyone's going to have a little bit extra fire in the belly, it'll be him. And Ken, to your point, the next two, Tennessee and Chicago, winnable games.
Gotta have them.
Got to have them. Got to get back into this season, and the idea that. This season is lost is far from it. Far from it. It's not even close. As you all know, and I haven't said it all show, but I'll say it once. I do watch the games. Yes, our team sucks out loud on a variety of fronts. We've played some really good teams. We really have. And Dallas might be the worst team that we've played this season, if we're being honest. That's what makes it so hard at this point in time, because I do think Jacksonville beats Dallas in the game right now. But here's what I want to line up for next week, Kevin. And you have veto rights, as always, but T doesn't because he's not here. We haven't done it at all this season, and I want to do it for next week. I want to spend one segment of a show just talking about prospects for next season at a couple of the top prospects at various positions. So we're going to have an honest assessment of where we are after 5 weeks of the season, which I think is totally fair. We're not jumping to any conclusions about where we're drafting or what we need yet. But next week, I want to put a peeker into the top prospects who are coming out of the draft, who we think are coming into the draft next season, to start to take a look, an honest look at where we're going to be in that first round, and to have just one segment's worth of a conversation about the kind of talent that we can bring in, what position we think that should most be at. And I think that is a meaningful thing to do a couple of times in the middle of a season. If it gets bad by the end of the season, we'll talk about it a lot more. But at this point in the season, I don't want to harp on it. But I think it's a thing. We know where our holes are, and we know how we want them plugged, Kevin.
Well, and they're not harping on anything. There are two teams with losing records on our schedule moving forward in our next 13 games.
That's a harp. I love it.
30, 20, and 2 is the combined record for the opponent. So we got to figure something out because nothing's getting easier. And I know you see a Houston out there, but that's a hungry young Houston team. These next 2 weeks, they're crucial. They're very crucial. We can't just be 1-5 and 1-4. We can't.
What if, Kevin? What if we're lucky enough to do, or not, the high school game on November 5th that we're hoping to do? We drive straight to the airport. We catch a flight to Minneapolis, and we're there.
That's in Minneapolis?
I believe it's in Minneapolis for November 6th. If people are out there, hey, listen, it's a conversation to be had. We have some time to have it. I don't know how that all works, but EO, you're hosting. That's where you live, correct? And if that's the case, yeah, come on.
Yeah, it's not in Minnesota.
I was doing that for some dramatic building up.
I think you're drunk.
Oh, what? Oh, it's Tuesday.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
EO, are you going to be there? Are you going to be there? He'll be in DC. Okay, perfect. Perfect. He lives in SoCal with Caleb Williams. Are you a professional college athlete? For God's sakes. That to me is a game that we should potentially think about getting out there at around 6:30, 6:45 in the morning for breakfast.
Yeah, that's not happening in 100 billion years. Just saying. St. John's Gonzaga on the 5th.
No, on the 6th.
Oh yeah. Did you hear what I just said?
Yeah, I did. I heard.
Yes.
Take it easy, AGH. I know you're from Wales, but for God's sakes.
Well, in the company he keeps, he is the lowest seed. So I'll just say that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it.
Until next week, when we will hopefully have T back to join us. We appreciate everybody from around the country and the world. I saw people on this board tonight from the West Coast, California, and Oregon. I see you, Damian Lynch. The United Kingdom, our good friend AGH, and folks here and there and all in between. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on a Tuesday night. It is necessary. We have to stay together. We're not going anywhere. Let's just keep having fun. I mean, listen, we're gonna talk about what we have to talk about, and it won't always be great, but it's always great to be with you guys, and it's always great to hang out. So I'm gonna take it.
The board was on fire tonight.
It was.
It was an electric board, and I love it.
Go Mustangs, Ken Harris. I'm with you all day long. With you all day long.
The Bears game. We're trying to figure something out here too. We're gonna figure something out.
That one's in Chicago. I know that.
I know, but he's talking about a little pregame.
Oh, pregame show.
Yeah,
Okay.
Business,
I got you,
I'll be at
Greg.
the KOC that evening, but
Maybe it could be from there.
Yeah,
Is that a possibility?
See. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Well, let's just explore
That'd
because
be easy.
that makes a lot of sense.
That'd be fantastic, and I can get a guy. I'll get Murph to come in and step in for me, so I can come over and hang out.
Can we get
a little
Sean?
bit.
Maybe
I
not.
mean, that's a lot.
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
well, we'll see. He's at
Hey,
the Avenue
listen.
on Thursdays, but you guys are the best, man. I love it. It's that the passion, the opinions. I don't think anyone's wrong here. I don't. I'm not going to be like, hey, I don't agree with you. Everyone, because all you guys give a damn and pay attention and go through this, and we're all in it together. So yeah, let's figure out a way to get together somehow and do some of this business here that everyone's talking about. Maybe a little pregame. Maybe I'm not flying to Minnesota, but you know what?
I want you to fly to Minnesota,
And
just
then-
be there for the game,
yeah.
and we'll be here in DC.
Okay. All right. Well.
Might be a good spot to watch it from. The Mall of America, I heard, is amazing. Until next Tuesday night, he's Kevin Ricca.
Hey, thanks, guys. Like I said, it makes me feel a lot better about what I watched this weekend. And while I was watching it, I knew I was going to get to talk about it with you guys and get rid of some of this stuff, get it off my chest a little bit. So thank you.
And Greg, before we sign off, just tell me, this was good for you, right? I mean, because it was really good for me, and it was really great for Kevin, and good for Benjamin. It had to have been good for you too. Let's go. I know Greg gets down. He's on the board. He's like, I can't take this anymore. He's like, it's a cry for help on the chat room.
I understand
get it.
I get
keep coming.
the feelings. I get them.
Keep coming.
I get them. I can't argue. I can't say you're wrong,
Cheers.
sir. I cannot.
And we're still live.
Respect the passion. Still live.